For millennia, people have been eerily drawn to abandoned cities, broken monuments, and ghost towns. There's nothing like an entire city without another soul nearby to remind you of the power of time and how quickly nature is ready to reclaim its land. But are there truly entire cities sitting there collecting dust? You'll be surprised. Here are 5 massive cities completely abandoned, from cursed cities that were struck by one disaster after the other to cities where you could die if you came near it. Let's get started. Number 5. Plymouth, Montserrat. Plymouth, Montserrat has been through some stuff. If you're ever near the Lesser Antilles, make sure to steer clear of the island of Montserrat, which is located between St. Kitts and Nevis and Guadeloupe in the Caribbean. The island's grim history dates back to the 1600s when it was first inhabited. Everything was going relatively easy. The volcano hadn't misbehaved in centuries. In 1962, Montserrat became a British colony, and by 1989 the island had some 4,000 inhabitants. On September 17th, disaster struck in the worst way possible. A behemoth by the name of Hurricane Hugo blew in and utterly wrecked the island, destroying Plymouth's jetty in the harbor, their recently constructed hospital, and the majority of their buildings and schools. This was back in 1962, but the island survived, albeit barely at that. It was barely pulling along until another disaster struck, July 1995, when that inactive volcano finally erupted. After hundreds of years of inactivity, the Soufriere Hills volcano spat out a series of violent eruptions. Think lava, ash, and hot gas. Parts of Plymouth were completely buried. Believe it or not, Plymouth tried to keep going. It held on for another 2 years. The final blow was on June 25, 1997, when the volcano roared once more. A massive eruption buried parts of the city. 19 people were killed. More eruptions started burning off whatever sound structure was left in Plymouth. By the end of the day, the city was buried under nearly 5 feet of ash. Any attempt to salvage the city was quickly abandoned. That ash and lava overwhelming the city burned the soil. Number 4. North Brother Island, New York. Did you know that there is an entire abandoned island near New York City? Spanning over a lengthy 20 acres in the East River and located between the Bronx and Rikers Island, North Brother Island is something straight out of a science fiction book. If you didn't know any better, you would swear it was cursed, and judging by its history, it probably was. Up until 1885, the island was uninhabited. That year, Riverside Hospital was established to treat and isolate smallpox patients and others suffering from contagious diseases. For the last 20 years of her life, Mary Malone, also known as Typhoid Mary, was confined there until she died in 1938. By the 1960s, the island had long served its purpose and was abandoned. Trees were left free to overrun structures. Most of the buildings are under serious threat of collapsing. What's left is overrun by plants. If any ghost town enthusiasts want to step foot on this island, they have to apply for permission to visit. However, lately, there have been some talks of reopening the city, but as a park, as reported by New York Magazine. Until that happens, the island is home to shorebirds and herons. North Brother Island's curse was smallpox. This upcoming city's curse is a plague, landslides, floods, earthquakes, and plain bad luck. Number 3. Craco, Italy. Welcome to Craco, Italy, a hill town at the southeastern end of Italy. Craco's spot on the map dates all the way back to the 8th century BCE. The town sits atop a 1,300-foot high cliff that overlooks the Cavone River Valley, giving it an imposing and striking appearance, easily distinguishable from the surrounding land. In 1060 CE, it belonged to the Catholic Church, which gave it the name of Craco. Skip forward to 1276, and the town changed ownership to Muzio Sforza, a member of Italy's infamous Sforza family, who was a ruling family during Renaissance Italy. By the time 1561 rolled around, Craco enjoyed a population of around 2,500 residents. That enjoyment didn't last much longer. In 1566, the plague struck, dramatically reducing the number of Craco's inhabitants. In 1861, brigands, gangs who ambush and rob people in the mountains and forests, terrorized the residents. Between 1892 and 1922, the majority of the remaining residents, about 1,300 people, made the decision to abandon the town and look towards North America as a fresh start. Those were the lucky ones, because by 1963, the centuries of relentlessly digging to build sewers, water systems, and buildings finally caught up to the town. A series of landslides wreaked havoc on the residents. They barely had a chance to catch their breath. In 1972, a devastating flood utterly engulfed the town. In 1980, an earthquake rocked the town, which was the final straw that pushed the residents to pack up and leave. Now, Craco does attract the occasional visitor, movie stars. You can see the glory of Craco in movies such as the 2008 movie Quantum of Solace, and of course, in 2004's The Passion of the Christ. Number 2. Kolmanskop, Namibia. Kolmanskop, Namibia has had an eventful history. It all started with a diamond. In 1908, German workers were sweeping sand from a railroad when they uncovered diamonds. This launched large amounts of people coming from all over the German Empire to dig for the precious gems. With this influx of people came an influx of wealth. Eventually, Kolmanskop was officially established. It was more than a mining city. It had a school, a theater, a hospital, a sports facility, an ice factory, and a power station. Kolmanskop is even the site for the first X-ray machine and the first tram in all of the southern hemisphere. At one point in 1912, the town was producing over 1 million carats a year, which is about 11.7% of the world's total diamond production. However, the intense search for diamonds soon resulted in the field depleting, and following World War II, by the year 1956, Kolmanskop was officially dubbed a ghost town. All the workers, miners, and diamond seekers packed up to find their fortune somewhere else. Before you know it, the very sand those workers were sweeping at the very beginning started to creep on the buildings, coming in through the homes' porches and windows, and filling the rooms with smooth banks of sand. In 2010, the television series Life After People featured Kolmanskop, showing the odd effects of wind and sand on the town. Number 1. Pripyat, Ukraine. What abandoned city is more famous than the infamous Pripyat? Welcome to the site of the worst nuclear power disaster of all time. On April 25, 1986, Pripyat was a normal, thriving city. It had a population of around 49,000 people. It had 15 primary schools, 5 secondary schools, 2 stadiums, a massive, well-equipped hospital, 25 stores, 10 gyms, 3 indoor swimming pools, and an under-construction amusement park. A few days later, the city was completely abandoned. See, Pripyat is a mere 2 kilometers away from the Chernobyl nuclear plant before it exploded. On Saturday, April 26, 1986, the Chernobyl nuclear plant's reactor number 4's core violently exploded, spewing radiation into the air. After the nuclear explosion, a 30-mile exclusion zone was created around the reactor. All the clocks nearby stopped at 11:55. And a mere 36 hours after the disaster, authorities succeeded in evacuating the 49,000 residents of Pripyat so rapidly that all of whom were forced to leave their pets behind. Toys were left on the ground. The plant workers at Chernobyl left their uniforms still in the laundry, like it had never been the home of thousands of residents where they lived, worked, ate, and laughed. The city didn't have a soul left. Who could blame them? The consequent radiation from the nuclear mess was a death sentence for everyone who set foot near the city. Soon enough, nature started to reclaim the city. The once lively buildings started becoming overrun with plants and trees. Animals started to rule the streets, with deer, elk, and wild boar roaming, eventually attracting predators such as wolves and foxes. To this day, the city remains radioactive, but the danger has lessened enough to allow guided tours through the abandoned buildings, a hospital, an amusement park, and homes. And these are all the abandoned cities that we have for you today. What did you think of these strange cities? Would you be willing to step foot in one of them? Why or why not? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button. And before you go, if you want to see more videos like this, subscribe to Weeklypedia and click that notification bell to be alerted whenever we upload a new video. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.